Mercedes shocked Hamilton after massive statement. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Mercedes fires subtle reply to Lewis Hamilton army on Canadian GP. With George Russell seemingly being given preference over Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes' image is in shambles for the fans of the 7-time champion. They accused Toto Wolf and co. of sabotaging their driver in Canada with an unfair strategy. From slamming Russell for an undeserved podium to saying that Hamilton was robbed, the LH Army left no stone unturned. But in a very subtle way, Mercedes has responded to such negativity on their social media. In the latter half of the Canadian GP, when the rain stopped and the sun shone in all its glory, teams ditched the intermediate tires for slicks. But the Silver Arrows had already used all of Hamilton's medium tires before the race. This forced him to run till the end on new hard tires, which were naturally slower. Russell, however, was left with a fresh set of medium tires, giving him the much-needed speed boost over his teammate. So, Hamilton, who had climbed up to P3, was easily overtaken by Russell to end his podium hopes. This did not go down well with the 7-time champion's fans. But among all the negative comments under Mercedes' post dedicated to their 26-year-old driver's 12th F1 podium, one fan chose to stand up for their team. "For God's sake, it's the first podium this year for the team. Can't you just be happy about that?" they said. Using this statement to display their stance against the criticism, the official Mercedes page liked the comment. Moreover, Mercedes has made a statement without making a statement. Though Hamilton was quite vocal in his disappointment after the race, Russell went the opposite and described their intra-team battle as hard and fair. After George Russell secured an extraordinary pole position on Saturday, he credited Lewis Hamilton for his success. He revealed that he looked at a lot of his teammates' data from when he was absolutely flying in FP3. Even after the battle on Sunday, he kept his cool when addressing the elephant in the room. When questioned about their unanticipated battle for the podium, which, on losing, left Hamilton devastated, Russell replied, "Always with Lewis, it's really hard and fair. When you're racing with one of the greats, you know that you can trust them." And that was really great to see at the end. The tension within Mercedes is at an all-time high. The last time Wolff had to deal with such a situation was probably during the Nico Rosberg days, but it is surprising how the dirty laundry has been aired publicly. Though this is Hamilton's last year with them, the Silver Arrows need to handle the matter delicately and avoid any bigger controversies. Hamilton made up good ground during a wet-to-dry outing in Sunday's race, but was ultimately unable to get the better of Russell, who snatched the final podium position off the Brit on the penultimate lap of the race. In Monaco, Hamilton suggested that something strange is afoot in qualifying between the two Mercedes cars, before stating that he doesn't expect to beat Russell again on Saturdays this season, hinting at favoritism towards the other side of the garage. After the race in Montreal, he made more intriguing comments regarding the topic. Lewis Hamilton gives curious 7-word statement and adds fuel to Mercedes speculation. Lewis Hamilton made some cryptic comments after finishing 4th at the Canadian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton has added fuel to the speculation about his qualifying performances, suggesting that other things came into his poor showing on Saturday at the Canadian Grand Prix. The 7-time world champion was beaten by teammate George Russell in qualifying for the 8th time in 9 races in 2024 in Montreal, lining up 7th on the grid while his Mercedes colleague secured pole position. Hamilton made up good ground during a wet-to-dry outing in Sunday's race, but was ultimately unable to get the better of Russell, who snatched the final podium position off the Brit on the penultimate lap of the race. Max Verstappen wins crash-filled Canadian GP as Russell piles on Hamilton misery. The second story is Toto Wolf admits Mercedes had short dream of victory in Montreal after Russell's strong start. Toto Wolf has conceded that Mercedes briefly had hopes of achieving victory in the Canadian Grand Prix amid George Russell's strong start to the race, but insists the team are still happy with his podium finish and mustn't be too greedy. With Russell claiming only the second pole position of his career so far in Saturday's qualifying, the Briton made a clean getaway when the lights went out and led for the opening 20 laps of the race, before being overtaken by the McLaren of Lando Norris. He then lost a further position to Max Verstappen and, after an eventful race, which included close battles with Oscar Piastri and teammate Lewis Hamilton, Russell eventually crossed the line in P3. The 26-year-old later stated that he felt the Grand Prix was a missed opportunity. Asked during a post-race chat with Sky Sports F1 if he believed a win could have been on the cards for Russell, Wolff responded, "A victory was maybe a long shot or short dream. When George was on the hard, was catching up and had really strong pace, maybe for a second we thought about it, but you mustn't be too greedy." Russell also admitted to making some errors during the 70-lap encounter, and, while Wolff agreed that this may have been the case, the team principal was keen to focus on the development that Mercedes displayed during the weekend. Alongside this brilliance in today's race, on the other side, maybe there was one or two that we could have avoided, Wolff added, but we need to take the positives. The car has made a real step forward with bringing bits, and the development direction is true. As well as Russell's comments about his own mistakes, teammate Lewis Hamilton was also self-critical following the Grand Prix. The seven-time world champion slipped backwards in the latter stages, going from being in contention for a podium to a final result of fourth. Hamilton went on to label his visit to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve as one of my worst drives that I've had. When speaking further to the media later on, Wolff was quizzed on whether he felt the drivers were being too hard on themselves. "I think when you finish third and fourth where we have been coming from, then it's a positive race," the Austrian said. 3 and 4 is much better than we had previously in the last few races, so that's good. But I think both drivers saw that more was up. We could have maybe gained a position or two, and that's why there is a kind of negative sentiment that pervades. But if you would have given them third and fourth before the weekend, probably would have taken it. With the weekend looking to have perhaps been a turning point for Mercedes after a challenging start to the campaign, Wolff is hopeful that the squad can continue this progress amid further upgrades arriving at the forthcoming Spanish Grand Prix. "I think definitely since Imola, we've taken the right steps and put parts on the car that were working," he said. "That is something that we were struggling with in the past couple of years. We have new parts coming in Barcelona. That should help us. So I would very much hope that we can continue this positive trajectory." The third story is Mercedes rule out Sainz for 2025 seat, focused on Antonelli. Mercedes have ruled out Carlos Sainz for a 2025 Formula One drive because they are focusing on young Italian Andrea Kimi Antonelli as Lewis Hamilton's likely replacement. Spaniard Sainz is handing over his Ferrari seat to seven-time world champion Hamilton at the end of the year and has yet to find another drive, despite his experience as a proven race winner. Champions Red Bull have confirmed Mexican Sergio Perez as Max Verstappen's teammate, closing that possibility to Sainz, while Mercedes looks set to confirm Antonelli as George Russell's teammate. The 17-year-old Italian is currently racing in Formula 2. "I think first of all, Carlos deserves a top seat. He's done a fantastic job," Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff told Sky Sports Television. "But for us, we've embarked on a route now to say, we want to reinvent ourselves a little bit going forward, and Kimi Antonelli definitely plays a part in that. We haven't taken a decision yet for next year, but we didn't want to have Carlos wait as well because he needs to take the decisions for himself. That's just fair. He's doing a super job." Sainz is a top target for Williams and Swiss-based Sauber, with the former pushing hard and the latter last in the standings, but set to become the Audi Works team in 2026. "The number one target is Carlos," said Williams boss James Vowles. "We are prepared to have a driver lineup that I think is going to be one of the best on the grid, if it's achieved. And that's a different era that we're going into. We're investing tens, if not hundreds of millions, to take this team back to where it was in terms of success." Mercedes will drop the unique Formula One front wing concept introduced at the start of the season for good. With both drivers set to race the new design at the Canadian Grand Prix, despite using the old specification for the rain-affected Friday practice. Initially, the Mercedes W15 featured a front wing with the top element unloaded inboard with just a small strip of carbon fiber connecting the flap to the nose to satisfy the regulations. At Monaco, George Russell raced the modified design with a more conventional top flap, which Lewis Hamilton will also run in Montreal for the first time. Both drivers ran the old spec on Friday, likely to conserve parts. Trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin described it as a step in the right direction in Monaco.